It's almost fall, y'all, and that means it's time for all the cozy knit planning. So stick around and we will dive into an array of fall knitwear I'm excited to get started on.
Hello y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolkKnits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and this is a channel where I share all about my love of fiber arts, from knitting to sewing to spinning and whatever else I might be dabbling in at the moment. I also occasionally share about living on a small farm here in Arkansas where my husband, myself, and our children are beekeepers, and we love all things gardens and chickens, animals, goats, and just spending time outdoors here in the foothills of the Ozarks. So if any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, hit that subscribe button, and that way you won't miss out on any future video content. Today's video is all about fall knit planning. Is it fall yet? No, it's not. Do we care? No, we do not. The kids have gone back to school, and that means it is fall. Is it 100 degrees outside today? Yes, it is. We don't care, because in our minds and hearts, it is cozy season, and I am very excited to start planning out what my fall knitwear calendar is going to look like. I'm sure a lot of you are already thinking about switching gears from those summer knits to those warm, cozy woolies. I usually like to do a video with fall inspiration, and I do plan on doing one of those soon, but today I want to share what I'm actually planning on working on this fall. This fall is obviously going to have some new cast-ons because I can't help myself. I've always got to be casting on something new, but I also have a fall ahead of me full of pulling out older knits and finishing them. Before we get into all of that though, I'd like to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Craftsy. Craftsy is an online community where literally millions of DIY lovers, crafters, makers like myself can find creative inspiration and also learn new skills. Now, if you're not new here, you'll have heard me talk about Craftsy a lot because it has been instrumental in helping me to really try to master things like spinning on my spinning wheel. I relied so heavily on the teachers showing me via video on Craftsy how to become a spinner. Lately, I have really been diving into the world of sewing, and although I've been a sewist for a long time, I got a serger for the first time last year. And a class that I think is absolutely amazing for those of you like me who are trying to advance your skills is Beginner Serging, Machine Basics and Techniques, which is taught by Amy Allen. This is such a great class to teach you about how your serger works, how to get the most out of it, the correct way to utilize a serger, and when to use the different stitches. This has just been a game changer for me. Like most of you out there though, I am multi-craftual, so I absolutely love not only knitting but also spinning, sewing, crochet, baking, embroidery, and you can find classes on all of these topics and so many more. You can even connect with fellow makers and DIY lovers to share ideas, to ask questions, and to get feedback on projects you're currently working on. So if you would like to learn some new skills and try out Craftsy, then the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description will get a 1-year premium membership for only $1.49. The value of that membership is absolutely unreal, so don't miss the chance to join the Craftsy community today. Thanks again, Craftsy, for sponsoring today's video. All right, let's jump into all my fall plans. As you all know, I'm a big starter and not always a big finisher of projects. So I do have quite a few knitting projects that need to be finished. I want to finish them. They just
perhaps had to be set down to work on a test knit with a deadline, and so they were interrupted, and it is time to resume knitting on them. I want to show you a few of those projects and also the yarn and project plans that I'm going to be casting on. So one of my very top projects I want to finish up for this fall, I'm sure you can guess, is my book club cardigan, which is a pattern by Sari Nordland. This was released earlier this year, and I was test knitting this, and I did not finish it, unfortunately. I still need to do just a tiny bit of the body and add the ribbing. I already have my pockets ready to go. And then I need to do the button band and both sleeves. So this will require a little bit of time. And I'm using the Wooldreamers mota, which is classified as a DK weight yarn. It, in my opinion though, for myself personally, tends to work up into a worsted weight gauge. I am a very loose knitter, so that probably contributes to the fact that in the finished fabric that I create, it's able to plump up a little bit easier. Whereas if you knit it at more of a DK weight gauge, I think the fabric sort of pushes it in a little bit and keeps it at that gauge. So I'm not trying to argue. Last time I had some people that are like, nope, I think mota's DK definitely. And I was like, I understand, but for me, I feel like it works up as a worsted base. So that's what I usually like to use it as. And I feel like in this project, it's just perfect. I love the color. I just need this. I need this for every fall outfit possible. I love it. I think it would be amazing to wear with a lot of the things I've been sewing, not only dresses, but some fun linen pants. Today I'm wearing my Isa cardigan, which I tested for Vare and Rose Alex, and I'm also wearing a top that I sewed. It is the Georgia tee, and it is a linen viscose blend, the fabric is, and I think even this would look really good with a sweater. So cardigans are life for me. I love cardigans. I love them so much more than pullovers even, and I'm desperately ready to finish this. It's actually a lot of fun knitting. I've heard quite a few things from people like that they don't like how the shoulder seams don't match up. So as you can see, this is a charted cable pattern and it doesn't perfectly align, you know, with the pattern repeats. But until I had heard people talking about that, I didn't even give it a thought. I mean, obviously I noticed it, but it doesn't bother me. To me, it doesn't look bad. You can see that with the lighting. Also, I have a lot of hair, so this is probably not even going to be seen ever. And that does not bother me at all. And it's only that one spot where the cables don't line up. I made sure that where I picked up the stitches, I made a conscious effort to make sure that the rest of the pattern lined up really nicely. Because that does bother me, like if it's offset by a stitch, and I think that's easy to do when you're picking up the stitches. So on one side, I actually ripped back and scooted everything over by one stitch to make sure that the pattern itself lined up. Even though this was not continuous, it's still in the same spot, you know, above each other. So that I definitely feel like has to line up. But as far as the cable not continuing, that doesn't bother me at all. This is going to be a very warm knitted piece. It is a, I believe it's woolen spun. It feels like it's woolen spun. It looks like it's woolen spun. It may be, you know, partially woolen spun, but it's definitely going to be a very warm piece. So I feel like I've got to finish this. I could wear it as a jacket almost here in Arkansas. There's only a few weeks where it's just frigidly cold. By a few weeks, I mean like maybe 5 weeks. January is usually really cold, and February is a little bit of both. December, a lot of times it's still warm in December. November is usually not that cold at all. So I have time to finish this, and I would like to do it now so that it's ready. Another one that I want to finish is this Mockingbird shawl. So this was designed by Primrose Yarn Co. And it was actually designed using a fiber colorway that she created called Ozark Dreaming, which was inspired by the lovely Ozarks. So I am very, very close to finishing this. It's just not quite happened yet. And the pattern hasn't been released as of yet. It's a super fun mixture, checkerboard style of garter stitch and brioche. And it's so much fun to use your hand spun in. And it's a big squishy triangle shaped shawl. But I really, really love the colors in the Ozark Dreamin'. It is absolutely fall colors. Very much colors that I love. It has some very moody, lovely, deep colors in it, which is perfect for my, what is it? True Deep Autumn? I have my colors done and I'm forgetting what it's called. It's something autumn. It's not soft autumn. It's, is it Deep Autumn? It's autumn. Deep fall autumn colors. Those are the ones. Okay, so what am I wanting to cast on? Let me share a few of my plans as far as that goes. This is going to be very cardigan heavy, and I'm sorry, but not really. I love cardigans. I've mentioned before I really want to focus on making more cardigans because they tend to be the absolutely most worn garments that I make. And I do love pullovers. Pullovers are easier because pullovers are usually worked in the round. If you do a raglan style top-down pullover, you are never knitting flat. You might knit some short rows flat, but the rest of it, it's all knitting around. So it's lovely, easy, circular knitting, and I do love that. So pullovers can be very tempting. Meanwhile, cardigans, you're knitting flat. It's a little bit slower, but purling doesn't really bother me. Is it a little bit slower for me? Yes. But does it bother me? No. It's okay. So I've got a lot of cardigans lined up. Let me start with the first one. I'm in a little knitting group of Danny from Black Mountain Yarn Shop and Sam from Sam Fusco Knits, Jelena Sue Makes, Alicia Edmiston, who you may know from YouTube. And we all are making a Jenny cardigan together. So I have some metamorphic yarn from Spincycle, and it is the color gray green. What is this color? Number 8? Gray green number 8 maybe, or green gray number 8. But it's this really pretty sea green color. I think it has a bit of a blue undertone to it, but also a lot of emerald undertone to it. Some yellow green in it as well. And it is like exactly the same color as my eyes. I have a hazel eyes, so there's some brown in there, but there's also a lot of this exact color green. And I fell in love with it. So I have 5 of these skeins. This is, let me see. It's a DK weight, and it's 400 yards. So I don't think it has a grams on here, how many grams it is, but it is, that's a lot of yardage, 400 yards. And it's just a really nice base. It's 100% fine wool, and I've never knit a garment out of this before. I think it'll be really enjoyable and a lot of fun to knit with. I like the bounciness, the plaid structure of it, but it still feels and looks woolly. It's very soft though. So I'm betting it has some superwash in it. It may be both superwash and non-superwash. It's made from at least 50% recycled wool, and it is dyed and spun in Washington, USA. So that's really cool. And I have a little bit of a plan. Sometimes I will start a knit, but before I start the knit, I will have planned out an entire outfit to go with it, which I think is funny because obviously I'm not only going to wear this knit with just this one piece this one outfit ever, but it's so much fun to plan an entire outfit. My plan involves this lovely fabric from the Linen Lab. Now, I do have a link that you can use, and it will give you a discount on linen fabric. And I gotta say, this is my current obsession, this navy linen floral. And I think with a big, cozy, wrapped up Jenny cardigan, it's gonna look so fun and farmy. I really love it. I am planning on making a dress with this. Now, I haven't 100% decided, but I think everybody in the group is also wanting to make the, is it the Shelby dress from True Bias? So I think, you know, it would be fun to have that sort of 90s inspired button-up dress with a wrap belted cardigan, big shawl collar. Maybe I need some Doc Martens. I don't know. I usually wear my Blundstones all winter, but I think this is very exciting future makes right here, soon to happen. Alina's already done her belt. She started with her belt, which was very smart because it's a lot of double knitting, and then it is a top-down raglan style cardigan, I believe, with a very simple textured pattern throughout the fabric. Then you've got a big cozy shawl collar, and you add some belt loops so that you can tie the belt around for a nice cinched in waist, and no buttons. I think that one's gonna be a lot of fun, and I need more green in my life. Next up is lots of mosaic knitting. The reason for that is because the YFK Mosaic Mayhem Knit Along is starting September 1st. Very, very much looking forward to this knit along. I have multiple projects planned. First of all being the Poly Cardigan, which is a newly released pattern from Amy Christoffers of Savory Knitting. This is a bottom-up cardigan that is knitted with mosaic stitches. Always lovely because you only have to work with one color at a time as you are getting this beautiful colorwork fabric. As soon as I saw this Quilt Star pattern, I knew I really wanted to have it. And I got definite farmhouse, Scandinavian farmhouse vibes in my head that I thought would look really good. Neutrals, beiges, browns, very classic, very Scandinavian farmhouse. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but that's how I think of it in my mind. So, North Bay Fiber very kindly provided yarn support for this knit along. I'm using Jill's Heritage DK, which is 100% Targhee Polypay yarn. So it is a worsted pattern, but this yarn, very similar to the Mota yarn, I feel like absolutely could be light worsted, heavy DK. This is a non-superwash, it's woolen spun, and there's 150 yards per 50 grams. So it's really lovely. And I picked out this for my main color, which is Sand Point. And it's that Scandinavian color I think of, cream, almost like a putty color. And it's just so lovely always. And then the contrast color I'm using is this chestnut. So I think it's going to look really good together. Now, I'm going to be casting on for the knit along September 1st. Whips are welcome, so if you are ready to cast on, you go right ahead. I have been trying to finish up a test knit that's due this weekend, so I have not got to cast on yet. I'm trying to be really good. But someone else who is knitting the Poly Cardigan and participating in the knit along sent me a message and said that they thought the numbers were off for the size 4, which is the size that I'm going to be working on. And so I got the pattern out. I'm going to start with the sleeves. I'm going to knit those first because you knit the sleeves from the bottom up and you attach them to the sweater. When you get there, the sweater's bottom up. And so I hadn't even looked at that yet. But I looked at all the numbers and I did a little math and they are correct. The numbers were off for the size 4. So the cast on number of stitches I think is probably right, and the chart is numbered, so I know that those stitches are correct, but it's probably in 2 sections next to that whenever you go to add your stitch markers in. That size 4 numbers is off. The numbers don't add up to the cast on stitches. So I reached out to Amy, and I'm sure she will have that pattern updated shortly. If you're knitting that and you're knitting the size 4, don't think you're crazy. The numbers are not correct in that portion right there. So maybe hold off for a little bit until she fixes that. But you should be good to start the sleeves. I'm going to do sleeves first, and I'm also going to sew a dress to go with this cardigan, and I'll share more about that on my next regular podcast, but this is going to be so much fun. Another mosaic pattern I really want to make this fall is the Fog Line Shawl. This is a pattern by Brienne Moody, and I just think it's so much fun. It's a fairly simple repeat, which should be very easy to memorize, but your use of color is everything. It's so much fun how she progresses, the color changes in each section. And Candace from the Farmer's Daughter Fiber knitted a version that is show-stopping. Literally made my heart skip a beat when I saw it. I absolutely have to make one very similar to that. So I am going to be combining some of the Pishkin DK Farmer's Daughter Fibers yarn with some hand spun and probably some Dream State from Spincycle. Let me show you. So I have a few Pishkin DK colorways that I got from Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and this one is Evergreen. Oh, it's amazing. This one is Clay Dreaming, which is stunning, y'all. It's out of this world beautiful. And then this one is Weathers OG Classic. So beautiful. Now I need to pick out another one of these solid colors, and I think I have some in stash, like one skein. I may use that, or I may see what else I've got. But I've got quite a few one-off hand-spun skeins because I'm part of the Hello Yarn subscription for the monthly fiber, as well as Lavender Loon. So I have a lot of single skeins, some of which are spun up, some of which need to be spun up, and I think this would be a perfect use of some hand-spun yarn. But I also have some Dream State that I have acquired from Black Mountain Yarn Shop. This is the best skein of Saucy Dog I've ever seen in my life. I'm obsessed with it. I don't even want to use it. It's so good. And this is the best skein of Melancholia. I mean, look how good those are. I love this deep bump color. This is a good skein. And then I've got this Wololo, a good skein of Ghost Ranch. This is Straw Flower. So I can definitely use these in mix and match with my hand spun and with some of these lovely Pishkin DK colors. I just need to get started, and I'll probably just work on it section by section, and I can make decisions. Should I use hand spun, or should I use Spincycle, or should I use some Cascade Heritage? Decisions will be made as I come to each section. All right, last but not least, I really want to make a jacket this fall. I was looking through a lot of the different patterns, and I have the Esther jacket, which was very kindly gifted to me by one of you lovely viewers. I'm trying to decide between that and the Beatrix cardigan, which is a pattern by Gregoria Fibers. But I'm very much leaning towards the Gregoria Fibers pattern simply because of the texture. I think that it would be so much fun to knit up a very textured jacket slash cardigan. It is a cardigan, but it is an Aran weight gauge. And for me here in Arkansas, that pretty much means it's a jacket. And I think it's a really fun mix of cables and seed stitch or moss stitch is what it looks like. I'll be honest, I don't have the pattern, so I haven't looked at, you know, technically what all the stitches are, but it looks like it's either a waffle stitch or something like a seed stitch mixed in with the cables, and then it has a really fun button band. I like that it is unique, and I like that it would not be boring at all to knit. So I recently got some yarn from Camellia Fiber Company when they did their post-flock update, and I have to tell you, I was madly in love with their garden rose color. It spoke to me. So I had to snag some of that from their post-flock update, and I got it on the Serene Erin base. That is what my plan is to use for the Beatrix cardigan. Now, after I ordered it, I realized they only had 5 skeins, and I didn't do the math before I ordered it, and it is not enough for this cardigan. So they are having a pre-order in September, and I think I will go ahead and order the remaining skeins that I will need to make the Beatrix cardigan. It is going to be from different dye lots though, obviously. So especially seeing as how it is hand-dyed yarn, I feel strongly that there will be a difference in color. What I will probably do is save the skeins I order from the pre-order for my sleeves. And that is another reason that I think that the Beatrix is going to be my choice, because of the all over massive texture. It's not just a, you know, very slight textured fabric. It is a very textured fabric. And I think that that does an amazing job of blending different yarn colors together. And you have less of a stripe in that situation. All right, y'all, that is my plans. I would love to hear what you're planning on working on this fall, and maybe I need to add it to my list because, you know, let's be honest, these are my plans, but all the new sweaters drop in the fall, so I'll probably be making something else as well. C'est la vie. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Craftsy, for sponsoring today's video, and until next time, happy knitting, y'all.